Security-related incidents, such as this vandalism that occurred last night, have been on the rise in our city. But we've been able to minimize our loss exposures and control many of these incidents by implementing a new facility and personnel security plan.
Nationwide, there has been an increase in security incidents taking place in government facilities. Some of the more common incidents include threats and acts of workplace violence, theft and vandalism of public property, civil disturbances and acts of terrorism, and computer and data security-related incidents.
These acts may be fueled by economic or political conditions, or may be the result of employment or social issues. No matter what their cause, we need to manage our security exposures in order to protect our employees and citizens, as well as safeguard our facilities and property.
The purpose of this video and the accompanying handbook is to review the key components of a facility and personnel security plan. We'll also discuss how to effectively implement controls in your entity to help prevent security-related incidents. CIRSA presents Facility and Personnel Security, a comprehensive plan for a safer workplace. After several incidents last year, our management team began a thorough evaluation of all city operations to determine our security exposures. We set up a security task force made up of personnel from different departments. Our goal was to evaluate these exposures and develop a plan to manage our security risks.
Some entities may use their safety committee to address security issues, while smaller entities might utilize one or two key people. But regardless of the size of your task force, the issues needing to be addressed are equally vital to your entity's safety and security.
After reviewing the security issues affecting our city and assessing the potential threats, our task force recommended some new policies, procedures, and other controls. The result was our Facility and Personnel Security Plan. The key components of the plan include 1. Physical security of facilities and operations. 2. Personnel policies and procedures. 3. Threats and violence in the workplace. 4. Potentially volatile municipal activities. 5. Computer and IT security. And 6. Communication and training.
Our management team fully endorsed our new security plan and directed all employees to make security a higher priority. Let's now take a look at the key components in more detail.
The first part of our plan was to increase the level of security at our buildings and facilities. We attempted to balance the public's need for access to our facilities with our employees' need for appropriate security controls. A checklist was developed to evaluate the vulnerabilities of each of our key operations. The level of security needed for each facility was evaluated, taking into account the priorities of protecting our employees, citizens, equipment, and buildings. We also examined the security of our computer systems and IT databases. The Security Handbook contains examples of security checklists.
Our security policies and procedures for each facility were updated, which included conducting appropriate employee training. We now perform periodic audits to ensure these policies are being followed. If necessary, corrective action is taken and changes made.
Different buildings require different levels of security. For example, our water and wastewater treatment plants need to prevent unauthorized access. A reinforced chain link fence secures the perimeter. Entrance through the main gate is controlled by card keys and monitored with a video system. Parking is restricted to certain areas, and access to the offices and process areas is controlled through a single point of entry. During our security evaluation, we noticed that visitor access was somewhat casual. So we implemented a system where all visitors, including contractors, are required to sign in and wear a visible ID badge. Employees are trained to question anyone without a badge and report any suspicious activity. Our recreation center and community building are not fenced, but we do control access. Each patron is required to check in at the front desk. Staff routinely monitors areas in and around the facility, observes all activities, and reports any unusual behaviors. In our parks, we posted new signs listing contact information, park hours, and safety rules. Extra lighting was added, security cameras were installed, and we asked our police department to conduct regular patrols. Changes were made around City Hall as well. We installed barriers in front of the main entrance to prevent vehicle access, either intentional or accidental. Barriers may include concrete or metal posts, landscaping such as planters, large rocks, or concrete benches. Inside City Hall, visitors have access to public areas only. If a visitor needs to meet with an employee, they're required to sign in and be escorted to the private office area. Employee entrances are controlled by a card reader system. Procedures have been established to control access, and employees have been trained how to maintain a secure building. We have other facilities that utilize an access code system.
Both systems must be managed effectively to maintain security. Employees are not allowed to loan access cards to anyone or share access codes. When a person leaves employment with the city, their access card is immediately deactivated and access codes are changed.
While most of our facilities use card readers, some buildings still use metal keys. A key control system is managed by our facilities staff. The issuing and collecting of keys must be strictly administered if security is going to be maintained. We also instruct employees to remove ignition keys from unattended municipal vehicles and lock the doors. More than one city vehicle has been stolen in the past, including a police car. Each of our facilities were surveyed at night to evaluate lighting and security for employees working after dark. We upgraded the lighting outside City Hall and the Recreation Center. This further protects patrons and employees who utilize these facilities after dark.
After-hour security procedures include a buddy system for escorting employees to their vehicles. Motion-activated lighting was installed in key facilities, and drive-by police patrols were increased.
Some of our security upgrades required a capital expenditure, so we ran them through the normal budget process. But many of our security controls were implemented with little or no expense. Instructing employees to keep doors locked, establishing visitor check-in procedures, and removing keys from unattended city vehicles are just a few examples of no-cost solutions to security exposures.
An integral part of our facility and personnel security plan is implementing personnel policies and procedures. You can minimize many employee security problems by strictly following your hiring, performance management, and termination policies.
Conducting thorough background checks may uncover potential security risks with certain employment positions. If a background check reveals a criminal record, you should consult with human resources to determine the suitability for employment. For some positions, we go a step further and run a nationwide criminal background check. This is especially important if we are hiring individuals who will be working with at-risk groups, such as children or the elderly. People working in fiduciary or safety-sensitive positions should also be cleared through a nationwide check. As part of our ongoing performance evaluation system, employees who violate safety and security policies are appropriately counseled. Disciplinary action is taken as necessary.
Certain employment actions, such as employee terminations, can create serious security risks. Employee terminations or layoffs can become confrontational and escalate into a security threat if not handled properly. When scheduling an employee termination, it's very important to evaluate each situation and plan accordingly.
If the employee has a history of violent behavior, has made threats, has an obsession with weapons, or has exhibited other disturbing behavior, we plan for and take appropriate precautions. This may include asking other people to stay in the room during the meeting, or having a police officer on standby. Appropriate steps are taken to ensure building and IT security by deactivating passwords, changing access codes, and retrieving keys and access cards. These and other techniques can help reduce the risk of security problems. The Security Handbook contains more information on handling terminations and employee separations. We also have a system in place to deal with employees who exhibit bullying or aggressive behavior toward other employees or citizens. Employees are encouraged to report this type of behavior, and appropriate investigations are conducted.
Following your personnel policies and updating your procedures as necessary can minimize many employee security problems and keep your city operations running safely.
At least once a month, there is a story of workplace violence that makes national news. A number of these acts have occurred in public facilities, including schools and government buildings. Some workplace violence is conducted by a terminated employee seeking revenge or retaliation. Some are carried out by an irrational citizen trying to make a political statement. Other incidents simply defy explanation.
But you decided to spill my blood.
Okay, what's this all about?
It is absolutely essential that policies and procedures be established to deal with the potential for workplace violence. We have a zero-tolerance policy for threats and workplace violence, and we periodically review this policy with all employees. Since many acts of workplace violence are preceded by a threat, any threat of revenge, retaliation, or violence must be taken seriously and appropriately evaluated. It is essential that employees report any threats to their supervisor or human resources. To help identify and evaluate situations, we established a threat and violence assessment team. The team consists of personnel from human resources, facilities management, risk management, law enforcement, and other key officials. If a serious threat arises, we call an outside consultant who specializes in workplace violence assessment and control.
Every threat of violence must be investigated and assessed. If your entity is not able to assemble a threat and violence assessment team, work with local law enforcement or consider using an outside consultant.
Our facility and personnel security plan also covers other potentially volatile municipal activities. These include council meetings, municipal court, certain field operations, and cash handling. We've taken many steps to make sure council meetings remain orderly. Procedural rules have been adopted that apply to the council and the public in attendance. By following a degree of formality at council meetings, we are able to maintain control. When a controversial issue is on the agenda, we make plans for overflow crowds, ask for a uniformed police presence, and strictly adhere to speaker time limits. Courtroom proceedings may also present a high security risk. In order to enter a courtroom, everyone must pass through a metal detector to screen for weapons. A bailiff is always present to maintain order. In addition, we installed a panic button that can be used to summon help if needed. By working closely with law enforcement agencies, following our security policies, and maintaining order in the courtroom, we have been able to effectively manage these loss exposures. Employees performing certain field operations, such as code enforcement and utility disconnects, may be susceptible to confrontations. Our employees are trained in conflict resolution techniques in order to recognize and diffuse potentially hostile situations. And field employees continually communicate their location and schedule. Some city departments handle cash payments from citizens. Our cash handling procedures have been evaluated and appropriate controls established. We implemented accounting controls to prevent embezzlement, and we conduct an annual financial audit. Tight security controls have been instituted to prevent robberies.
Your facility and personnel security plan should be designed to deal with common and anticipated security issues. Dealing with acts of terrorism is beyond the scope of this program. For these extreme cases, you'll need to work closely with your local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies.
Another critical area with potential loss exposures is computer and information technology security. Both internal and external controls are needed to ensure the integrity of our IT systems, computer data, and equipment. Technologies of the 21st century have created enormous challenges to protect the integrity of computer data. The exploding use of flash drives, high-speed wireless networks, and social networking sites have forced us to implement many new controls on our IT systems.
Precautions are taken to prevent external hackers from gaining access to our systems. We also have procedures for when an employee is terminated or leaves the city to protect systems from corruption and information theft.
Our IT department has set up extensive controls. These include not sharing passwords, logging off when not at a terminal, and changing passwords regularly. Network security and remote access policies have been implemented. Only secured internet connections are used, and our electronic communication policy governs personal use of email, internet browsing, the use of social networks, and the downloading of photos and files. Our IT department also established an integrated system backup plan. The entire system is backed up nightly, and the backup files are stored off-site.
The final component of our facility and personnel security plan is open communication with citizens and staff and conducting employee training.
To expand the lines of communication with our citizens, we set up a hotline where people can report safety and security concerns. The hotline can be accessed either by phone or email, and reports can remain confidential. It's very important our city monitors the comments regularly and follows up on any security concerns. A few months ago, we were able to prevent the theft of city property when a citizen reported some suspicious activity at our service center.
Yeah, I'd like to report some kids playing on some equipment at the city service center.
Employee communication is also important. All of our policies are of no help if our employees are not committed to security. Open communication between management and staff is critical to the success of our program. Employees are encouraged to report any suspicious behaviors or activities. Each employee is responsible for maintaining an awareness of their physical surroundings and to monitor activities in their workplace. To recognize security threats and help us manage risk exposures, our city provides ongoing training for all employees. Security is emphasized during new employee orientations and reviewed during annual training updates. We partner with our police department and bring in outside consultants to discuss security concerns. At least once a year, we conduct a mock security drill. This allows us to test our communication systems, rehearse evacuation plans, practice lockdown procedures, and review reaction times. The drill involves all departments, including local law enforcement and emergency services. It is critical to test your security systems and policies to make sure they are working effectively. Open and clear communication and ongoing staff training are important components of your facility and personnel security plan.
In today's world, we cannot ignore potential security risks. There are too many things that can go wrong and injure employees and citizens, damage property, and interrupt operations. Implementing a comprehensive facility and personnel security plan is necessary to manage these exposures.
The key components of our plan include 1. Analyzing and managing the physical security of facilities and operations. 2. Following your personnel policies and procedures that address hiring and firing of employees. 3. Adopting a workplace violence prevention program. 4. Addressing procedures for handling potentially volatile municipal activities. 5. Implementing a comprehensive IT security plan. And 6. Ensuring open communication with citizens and staff and conducting employee training. For more information on security exposures, copies of suggested forms, and tips on implementing your plan, refer to the security handbook that you received with this video.
The safety of our employees and citizens is a high priority and is part of our city's culture. We must continue to deal with the potential for security-related incidents. By working together and working smartly, we can effectively manage our security exposures.
Good luck implementing your facility and personnel security plan.